The year was 2073, and the galaxy was no longer quiet. For centuries, alien empires had ruled the stars, believing themselves to be the masters of hunting, war, and survival. They had fought among themselves, traded worlds, and built great fleets. But one species had always been ignored, thought too young and too weak to matter. That species was humanity. From their small blue planet, humans had risen slowly, first exploring their solar system, then building colonies across nearby worlds. At first, the galaxy barely noticed. To the great alien powers, humanity was a minor curiosity, a new voice in the endless night. But they had miscalculated. They had underestimated what humans could do when pushed to the edge. It began in silence, with rumors. Alien traders whispered about human ships appearing where no ships should be. Patrols vanished without a trace. Hunting packs of predators that once ruled entire sectors reported being chased, outsmarted, and destroyed. At first, the galaxy laughed. How could humans, a species so young, challenge predators who had perfected the art of hunting for millions of years? But the laughter did not last. There was a station on the far rim, a hub where different species gathered. One night, the feeds showed something strange. A massive alien warlord, leader of a predator clan feared for centuries, returned broken. His armor was torn, his body scarred, his voice shaking. He spoke of shadows in the dark, of hunters who did not fight for sport, but for survival. He spoke of eyes that glowed in the night, weapons that never missed, and tactics no predator could predict. He spoke of humans. The galaxy froze. To be called a hunter was the highest title among predator races. Yet now, one of the greatest hunters alive admitted he had been hunted instead. The Council of Predators refused to believe him. They demanded proof. They laughed at his weakness. But then the proof arrived. A fleet of predator ships that had once hunted whole civilizations was found adrift, their hulls burned, their crew missing. The only thing left was a message burned into the flagship's walls. 3 words, written in English, "We were here." From that moment, whispers turned to fear. Who were these humans? How had they turned from prey to predator so quickly? And why did they strike with such precision, leaving no survivors, no mercy? On Earth, the truth was simple. Humanity had been tested for centuries, forced to survive on a dangerous world filled with storms, hunger, and endless conflict. Unlike the predator races, who hunted for sport or dominance, humans hunted because they had to. Their history was carved in blood and struggle. Their minds had built traps, weapons, and strategies to overcome enemies stronger than themselves. And now, with technology equal to the stars, they were showing the galaxy what true hunters looked like. But still, no one understood the full scope. Reports spoke of humans moving in silence, striking like shadows, and disappearing before fleets could respond. Entire predator clans vanished overnight. Their hunting grounds became graveyards. And yet, not a single human body was ever found. Some aliens claimed humanity had unleashed machines, cold and unfeeling. Others swore they had seen men and women with eyes of fire, grinning as they dismantled predator ships piece by piece. In the grand halls of alien empires, rulers gathered, confused and afraid. They argued, debated, and accused each other of lies. But deep inside, every leader felt the same fear: the age of predators was ending. A new age was coming. An age where humanity, once prey, now walked as hunters among the stars. On a quiet colony far from Earth, a young alien worker sat in a bar, listening to the stories. His hands trembled as an old merchant leaned close and whispered, "Do not go into the dark. Do not hunt the humans. For if you see them, it is already too late." Outside the bar, the night sky was filled with stars. Somewhere among them, hidden in the endless dark, human ships moved silently, watching, waiting. For the first time in galactic history, the hunters of the universe felt the cold touch of fear. And in the shadows of deep space, the humans prepared for what came next. They were not here for sport. They were not here for pride. They were here for survival. And survival, for humanity, had always meant one thing: becoming the ultimate hunters. The galaxy did not yet know how far this truth would go. But soon, every empire would learn. The Council of the Core gathered in silence. A vast chamber floated above their homeworld, filled with pale light and long shadows. Around the circle, alien leaders spoke in low voices. Their skin flickered with color as they argued, each one sending waves of thought into the air. They had gathered for one reason only: humanity. Varric stood in the center. His body was tall and bent with age, but his voice carried strength. He showed the others images of Earth. Scenes of human wars, human inventions, human survival through fire and famine. Some of the leaders shook their heads. Others leaned closer. The chamber filled with unease. One elder called Sereth spoke first. He said humans were unstable. They fought too often. Their nature was self-destructive. They would burn themselves long before they reached true power. To him, humans were a problem that solved itself. The council should not waste energy on such a species. But another leader, Calith, disagreed. She pointed to the records Varric displayed. She showed how humans had survived disasters that should have ended them. Floods, plagues, great wars that killed millions. And yet each time they came back stronger. They did not hide from chaos. They adapted to it. They even thrived in it. To Calith, this was not weakness. It was something terrifying. The council split into two sides. One side believed humans would destroy themselves. The other feared humans would one day destroy the galaxy. Voices grew louder. The air filled with sharp light as arguments clashed. Finally Varric raised his hand and the chamber fell quiet. He told them a story he had never told before. Long ago, his fleet had landed on a world filled with predators. Creatures that hunted without rest. His people had thought themselves safe, stronger, smarter. But they underestimated the will of those predators. The beasts fought even when wounded, even when dying. They refused to surrender their home. The cost was terrible. Many core had fallen. Varric warned that humans were like those beasts, but worse. They carried the same will to fight, and they had the mind to turn anything into a weapon. If left unchecked, humans would not stop at Earth. They would rise higher. They would spread across the stars. And nothing would stand in their way. The council listened. For the first time in years, they felt fear. They voted to continue their study. No interference yet. No contact. Only observation. They would watch and prepare. On Earth, life continued without pause. In the deserts of Africa, soldiers tested new machines. Suits of armor that moved like skin, giving humans strength far beyond their bodies. In the skies of Asia, swarms of drones flew in perfect formation, carrying the promise of war and protection both. On the seas, ships cut through storms with weapons hidden beneath their steel. And in space, a colony on Mars began to grow into a true city. Humanity was expanding. Humanity was learning to survive outside Earth. The core probes reported everything. Every test, every invention, every decision. The more they learned, the more uneasy they became. Humans were no longer bound to one planet. They were stretching their claws into the galaxy without even knowing it. Among the core researchers, some began to doubt the council's choice of waiting. A younger scientist named Draylen whispered of striking early. He said they should move before humans grew too strong. A quiet strike, fast and hidden, to erase them from history. But Varric disagreed. He warned that if the humans ever sensed an enemy, they would unite. And once united, they would be unstoppable. Still, doubt spread. Whispers grew. Not all the core were patient. One night, without permission, Draylen launched a secret test. His probe descended through Earth's clouds and into the forests of South America. It released creatures bred for hunting, small, fast, armed with teeth and claws sharper than knives. To the core these beasts were perfect predators. To humans they were supposed to be unstoppable. At first the creatures tore through the forest. They hunted animals with ease. But soon they encountered something unexpected. A small village stood in their path. Men, women, and children lived there. They had no great weapons. Only old rifles, simple tools, and courage. The beasts attacked. The humans fought back. The core watched from orbit, expecting slaughter. But what they saw shocked them. The humans did not run. They formed lines. They built traps. They fought with fire and stone when bullets ran out. They protected their children with their own bodies. Every time a beast killed one of them, Another human rose to fight harder. Hours passed, and when the sun rose, the ground was littered with dead beasts. Half the village was gone, but the survivors stood together. Blooded, scarred, yet unbroken. Draylen sat in silence, unable to believe what he had seen. His experiment had failed. The predators were defeated. And the humans were more dangerous than ever. When Varric learned of this, he was furious. Not at the humans, but at his own people. He told the council that Draylen's mistake had proved the truth. No matter what you threw at them, humans fought back. No matter the cost, they refused to surrender. The council chamber fell silent again. Now there were no more arguments. The aliens stared at the images of survivors standing in the ruins of their village, staring at the forest with fire in their eyes. The truth was clear. In 2073, the Corps had discovered something they could not ignore. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a predator that could never be broken. And this truth was only the beginning. The Corps Council could not forget the images of the ruined village. For many days they remained silent, each leader replaying the scene in their minds. The humans had stood against perfect predators and they had won. Not through strength of body, not through advanced technology, but through sheer will. It was something the Corps could not explain with logic. It unsettled them. Varric spoke again. He said that what happened in the forest was only a small glimpse. He warned that if humanity faced greater threats, they would rise even higher. The council had two choices. Either they could prepare for the day humans reached the stars in numbers, or they could try to end them now before it was too late. The chamber erupted in argument. Some shouted that Draylen had proved his point. Humans were too dangerous to leave alive. They called for immediate action. Others feared that if they attacked now, humanity might notice. They might sense that someone was watching, and if that happened, the secret would be gone. Kalith spoke above the noise. She reminded them that the humans had not yet discovered faster-than-light travel. They were still bound near their solar system. There was time, but not much. She believed humanity would find a way to cross the stars soon. She had studied their history. When humans desired something, they found a path no matter how impossible. They wanted the ocean, they built ships. They wanted the skies, they built planes. They wanted the void, they built rockets. She asked the council one simple question. What would happen when they desired the galaxy itself? The words chilled them. The council could not agree. They chose to delay. More observation. More data. But whispers spread among the core fleets. Soldiers, scientists, and commanders all wondered the same thing. Could humans truly be stopped? Meanwhile, life on Earth moved forward. News spread of the strange attack in South America, though no one could explain it. Survivors told stories of beasts with glowing eyes and razor claws. Governments dismissed the reports as wild animals. But those who lived through the night knew the truth. Something unnatural had come from the forest. Something not of Earth. And it had tested them. On Mars, settlers expanded their city beneath domes of glass. Children played under artificial skies while engineers built machines to dig deeper into the red soil. On Earth's oceans, massive floating platforms turned salt water into energy, feeding the hunger of billions. And in the skies above, scientists tested a new engine. A drive that might one day carry them beyond their sun. Humanity did not know they were being watched. Yet their every step forward was counted with fear by alien eyes. Among the Corps, Draylen faced punishment for his reckless act. But even in disgrace, he did not regret it. He believed he had revealed the truth. He spoke to others in secret, warning that Varric and the Council were blind. He claimed the only safe galaxy was a galaxy without humans. Some listened to him. Others dismissed him. But his words did not vanish. They spread like a shadow through the fleets. Varric grew worried. Not only about humanity but about his own people. He knew fear was dangerous. Fear could push the Corps into desperate choices. And desperate choices often led to disaster. He urged patience, but patience was running thin. One evening, as his ship drifted above Earth, Varric returned to the archives. He opened more human records. This time he studied not their wars but their stories, their art, their legends. He saw how they created heroes who stood against impossible odds. He saw tales of survival written thousands of years ago, passed down through time. Humans had always carried the idea of struggle inside them. It was not just in their weapons. It was in their minds, their dreams, their very culture. They prepared themselves for hardship even when it did not exist. Varric realized then that humanity did not simply adapt to threats. They expected them. They were always ready. That was why they survived when others would fall. It was why they frightened him more than any predator he had ever seen. But as he studied, something else appeared on his screen. A human broadcast, sent across space. Music, voices, laughter, carried on radio waves far beyond their planet. The signal was weak, but it reached the core ship. For the first time Varric heard not just human anger or struggle, but human joy. He saw them dance. He heard them sing. He realized humanity was not only dangerous, but unpredictable. They could destroy with fury, yet they could create beauty in the same breath. That combination, he knew, made them impossible to control. He turned off the transmission and sat in silence. The choice before the core was growing clearer. Sooner or later they would have to decide. To destroy humanity, or to face them when they rose to their full strength. Far below, on Earth, humans looked to the stars with wonder. They dreamed of visiting new worlds, of meeting other civilizations, never knowing those civilizations already feared them. The truth was hidden in the dark. And one day, when the truth finally came to light, the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy was wide and filled with countless species, but in 2073 very few knew of humanity. The core worked hard to keep Earth a secret. They feared that if other races discovered humans, panic would spread. But secrets are heavy, and heavy secrets always begin to crack. Within the council, arguments never ended. Some leaders wanted silence and patience, others wanted action. Varric tried to hold the balance, but his voice no longer carried the same weight. Too many were afraid, and fear was stronger than reason. Draylen's whispers had not died. They had grown louder. His words reached soldiers who dreamed of glory, scientists who hungered for control, and rulers who wished to crush threats before they rose. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans were unknowingly racing forward. Engineers tested a new jump drive on the edge of the moon. It was unstable, dangerous, and many doubted it would work. But the team did not stop. They failed, they tried again, they failed, and they tried again. Each failure became another step closer to success. To the core watching from orbit, it was terrifying. The humans were tearing down barriers that had held other species back for centuries. They were forcing the impossible into reality. Calith studied every test. She sent reports to the council, warning them that humanity would not remain trapped for long. She predicted that within 2 decades, maybe less, humans would step beyond their star system. And when they did, they would carry with them the same spirit that had led them through every disaster in their history. The council was split once more. Some shouted for destruction. Some shouted for waiting. The chamber became a storm of voices. At last a vote was called. The choice was clear: prepare a secret strike to erase humanity, or continue silent observation. The vote ended in a draw. No decision. No peace. Varric walked out of the chamber with heavy steps. He knew the danger of this deadlock. It meant that soon, someone would act without permission. And when that happened, there would be no turning back. On Earth, people began to notice strange events. Pilots spoke of shadows in the sky. Farmers found fields burned without reason. A fisherman on the coast of Japan claimed to have seen a shape rise from the sea and vanish into the clouds. Governments dismissed these stories, but whispers spread. Ordinary people began to feel that something was out there, watching. In South America, survivors of the beast attack were ignored by their leaders, but they did not stay silent. They gathered together, telling their story again and again, warning anyone who would listen. They spoke of glowing eyes and alien hunger. Some called them liars, but others began to believe. Fear slowly moved across the world, hidden but growing. Back in the orbit of Earth, Draylen made his second move. Furious that the council had failed to act, he gathered a group of loyal followers. They controlled a research ship armed with experimental weapons. He told them that if the council would not save the galaxy, then they would. He planned something far bolder than sending beasts into a forest. He would test humanity directly. Varric learned of this plan too late. His warnings went unanswered. The young rebels had already moved. Their ship descended into the night sky above Earth, cloaked and silent. They targeted a human base in the Arctic, where scientists worked on energy research. To the core rebels, this was a perfect target, remote, isolated, easy to destroy without drawing attention. But nothing went as they expected. When their weapon fired, it struck the base with a thunderous blast. Ice shattered, metal burned, alarms screamed into the cold night. Yet before the smoke cleared, the humans fought back. They did not know what had hit them, but they reacted with speed the core had not believed possible. Soldiers poured into the snow, weapons ready. Engineers turned broken machines into tools of defense. Even civilians took up arms, refusing to hide. The core rebels were stunned. They had expected panic, chaos, surrender. Instead they saw unity, courage, defiance. Every human at the base fought as if their life meant protecting the others. The rebels tried again, launching another strike. But the humans adapted. They moved faster, smarter, deadlier. They turned every weakness into strength. From orbit, Varric's ship recorded everything. He watched in silence as the humans held their ground against enemies they could not even see. For the second time, an experiment meant to break them had only revealed their true nature. When the rebels pulled back, their weapons drained and their ship damaged, the humans still stood. Many lay wounded, some dead, but the survivors were not afraid. They looked to the stars, fists raised, daring the unseen enemy to return. The council was thrown into chaos when the truth came out. Draylen had acted without permission. He had risked exposing their secret. Some wanted him punished, others praised his courage. But no one could deny what his attack had proved. Humanity could not be broken, not even by weapons far beyond their own. Varric spoke once more, his voice filled with warning. He told the council that every attack only made the humans stronger. Every test only revealed more of their dangerous spirit. He said the core were no longer discovering humanity. They were waking it. And that, he warned, would be a mistake the galaxy would never survive. The strike on the Arctic base could not be hidden for long. Humans searched for answers, scanning the skies, questioning every shadow. Governments released no official statement, but behind closed doors leaders whispered of something they could not explain. The world began to prepare in silence. Armies trained harder, scientists worked faster, and ordinary people felt the change in the air. Something was coming, though they did not yet know what. High above, the core council broke apart in anger. Draylen stood accused of disobedience. He defended himself with fire in his voice. He said the humans had proven their danger once again. He claimed the attack had shown what was needed, that humanity would fight no matter the odds, and that waiting was only giving them more time to grow. Some agreed with him. Others condemned him. But his words could not be erased. The core were divided deeper than ever before. Varric watched this collapse with heavy eyes. He no longer believed the council could act as one. Fear had already split them. He warned again that attacking humanity would only sharpen them, but his warnings were drowned in shouting. Some called him a coward, some called him wise, but few truly listened. On Earth, the humans rebuilt the Arctic base. They worked day and night. Wreckage was turned into research, ruins into blueprints. Within months the base stood stronger than before. The very attack that was meant to cripple them had pushed them forward. New weapons were designed, new defenses built. Unknown to the core, the humans had recovered fragments from the alien strike. Small pieces of strange metal, fragments of a weapon unlike anything on Earth. They did not know who had sent it, but they began to study it in secret. The survivors of the attack were changed. They told stories of fire in the sky, of an enemy unseen but real. They became symbols of resistance, heroes in the eyes of their people. Around the world, whispers grew louder. People no longer dismissed the idea of life beyond Earth. Some feared it, others welcomed it, but none could ignore it. Humanity's attention had turned toward the stars. Meanwhile, Draylen and his followers were exiled from the main council, but they did not stop. In the shadows of the core fleet, they built their own group, gathering ships and allies who shared their vision. They believed the Council too weak, too slow, and that only direct action could save the galaxy. They began to prepare for war. Varric saw the danger on both sides. On one side were rebels pushing for destruction. On the other was humanity, growing stronger with every challenge. He feared the collision that was coming. He feared it could not be stopped. One night, while orbiting Earth, he watched another launch from Cape Sol. A massive rocket lifted into the sky, carrying a new prototype engine. Humanity had taken their first step toward faster-than-light travel. The jump drive was unstable, but it worked for seconds longer than ever before. To the humans, it was hope. To the core, it was a warning bell. The Council erupted once again. Calith spoke urgently, saying that humans had crossed the line. If they could already test such engines, it would not be long before they reached other stars. Draylen's followers used this moment to push their argument. They demanded war before it was too late. The chamber was filled with fire and fear. But Varric stood tall. He told them that no matter what they decided, one thing was certain. The humans were rising, and nothing would stop them. If the core struck again, humans would not just defend, they would hunt. They would not just survive, they would pursue. He reminded them of the Arctic base, of the village in South America, of every record of human history. He said one truth clear enough for all to hear. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a predator waiting to be awakened fully. The word spread beyond the chamber, carried by rumor and fear. Across the core fleets, soldiers and civilians alike whispered of the humans. Some pitied them, some hated them, but most were afraid. And fear is dangerous, for it drives action. On Earth, the first pieces of alien metal were unlocked. Scientists discovered alloys stronger than anything they had known. They found traces of energy that did not belong to human science. Quietly, without telling the public, world leaders began new projects. They were building weapons not only for Earth but for space. They were preparing for something bigger. Draylen, hearing of these advances, grew restless. He told his followers the window was closing. Soon humans would no longer be vulnerable. Soon they would rise beyond control. He swore that the next strike would not be a test but a final blow. In the silence of his chamber, Varric stared at the blue planet below. He thought of the humans singing in their streets, laughing with their children, building and dreaming. He thought of their courage and their fury. And he knew with certainty that Draylen was making the greatest mistake of all. Because every attack only made them stronger. Every challenge only sharpened their will. If Draylen truly unleashed war upon Earth, then the galaxy would not witness the end of humanity. It would witness their beginning. The rebels did not wait any longer. Draylen gathered his ships in the dark void, far from the Council's eyes. He told his followers this was the only way. Humanity must be erased before it spread across the stars. They agreed, their voices filled with fear and pride. With a fleet of hidden warships, they set their course for Earth. Varric knew what was coming. He had warned the Council, but they argued until the last moment. By the time they realized Draylen had moved, it was too late. His fleet was already on the way. Varric stood at the window of his ship, staring at Earth. He felt a cold truth in his heart. Humanity was about to be tested in the greatest fire yet. On Earth, the night sky burned. Without warning, lights appeared above cities and bases. Explosions fell like thunder, striking oceans and deserts, tearing holes into the land. Panic spread, but only for a moment. Then, as always, humanity fought back. Sirens wailed across nations, soldiers rushed into battle, and civilians prepared to defend their homes. The core rebels expected chaos, but what they found was fury. Human jets rose into the skies, missiles cut through the clouds, and ground defenses lit the night with fire. The rebels had advanced weapons, yet the humans adapted faster than anyone believed possible. When one defense fell, another rose. When one strategy failed, they built a new one in minutes. In the Arctic base, rebuilt from the last attack, scientists used the fragments of alien metal they had studied. They powered new weapons that fired beams strong enough to cut through core armor. On Mars, colonists launched drones into orbit, joining the fight to defend Earth. Around the world, humanity united in a way unseen in all their history. No nation stood alone. All stood as one species. From orbit, Varric and his crew watched in silence. The battle raged across skies and seas, a storm of fire and steel. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, yet they refused to break. For every city struck, survivors rebuilt defenses in hours. For every ship destroyed, another rose with greater strength. Draylen could not believe it. His fleet was supposed to crush Earth in days. Instead, after each strike, the humans grew sharper, stronger, deadlier. He had wanted to end them, but he had only awakened them fully. In the ruins of New London, soldiers and civilians fought side by side, turning broken buildings into fortresses. In the deserts of Africa, armored suits thundered across the sands, carrying men and women who charged straight into alien fire. In the forests of South America, the survivors of the first attack led their people into battle, their courage unshaken. Everywhere the rebels looked, humanity stood unyielding. Then came the moment that changed everything. At Cape Sol, the prototype jump drive was activated again. The scientists had rushed it, risking everything, but they knew Earth had no choice. The engine roared, and for the first time in history, a human ship vanished into the void and reappeared across the battlefield. Faster-than-light travel had been achieved in the middle of war. The rebels saw it and knew the truth. Humanity was no longer bound. The cage had been broken. The battle turned. Human ships moved like hunters, striking with speed and precision. The rebels fell into confusion. Their fleet, once proud, was torn apart piece by piece. Draylen screamed his orders, but it was useless. His followers were dying, and the humans would not stop. At last, as his ship burned and the fleet collapsed, Draylen understood the truth too late. Humanity was not prey, not a problem to be erased. They were the apex predators of the galaxy, and his war had only proven it. His final words were swallowed by fire as his ship was destroyed. When the last rebel vessel fell, silence returned to orbit. Earth still burned, cities scarred, oceans wounded, but humanity stood. They had survived. They had won. And more than that, they had taken a step no species could take back. They had mastered the stars. In the council chamber, the core leaders sat in dread. They realized their mistake. By allowing Draylen's war, they had revealed themselves to the very predators they feared. Humanity would no longer look at the sky with innocent wonder. Now they would look with suspicion, with caution, with hunger. And one day soon, they would come. Varric gave his final warning. He told the council that the galaxy must prepare, for the humans were awake now. They had been tested in fire, and they had emerged stronger than ever. He said a truth no one wanted to hear but none could deny. The galaxy did not discover humanity. Humanity discovered itself. And the day would come when all would face the hunters of Earth. On the blue planet below, survivors raised their eyes to the stars. Their scars were deep, but their spirits were unbroken. For the first time in history, every human knew they were not alone. And with that knowledge came a promise. If the galaxy wanted war, humanity would give them something greater. Not just war, but domination. The predators had risen. And the galaxy would never forget the year 2073, when humans proved what they truly were.